Good afternoon. My name is Richard Whitehead. I'm the Evangelist in Chief at Moogsoft, and today I'm going to talk about the role of context in observability and AI Ops as well. And what I'm going to hope to do is provide you with a few examples of how context can actually be applied to observability data in a useful manner. The intention, of course, context is to provide a framework for an idea in terms of which it can be fully understood and assessed, which is obviously what we're trying to do with observability. So straight into the first example, this is context that's basically manifested as metadata accompanying raw data. Sometimes these are referred to as tags, labels, dimensions. In this example here, the eagle eye will spot that this is actually Prometheus text exposition format. And in this particular format, the metadata is provided as a label. And as you can see, it can provide very useful information for doing queries or sorting. Here's an example of something a little more raw. This is a statsd format, but even this, which appears to have no usable information other than the raw data and the timestamp, you can see that there is actually a little bit more information in there. The G, for example, is telling you that it's a gauge as opposed to a monotonic counter. And by using a reasonable naming convention like CPU percentage, we actually know that it's a percentage. So here's another example, periodicity. Here's a good example of periodicity. This is diurnal periodicity. This is the temperature in my basement. And as you can see, it increases dramatically during the day and then drops off dramatically at night. This is really important. This is not something that can be extracted directly from the data, but it's a very, very important context. For example, online gaming organizations that we have customers use concurrent user count as a very key indicator of things working correctly or not correctly on an online gaming system. And typically that would have two types of periodicity, both daily and weekly, as activity on weekends is likely to be different to that on weekdays. Okay. Another example is adding context through enrichment. So again, we don't necessarily have the data with the raw data, but we can add it from some external lookup. So in this particular instance, we're using a source that keys to a service value, and we've added that. So very straightforward, but incredibly powerful down the line. And here's another example. We're going back to our checkout raw datum. We can see here that you can actually do feature extraction to extract data. So we can see here that there's a host name in there. There's a service name in the case of checkout. And the fact that it's CPU means we can class it as a compute resource. So actually taking a lot of good information out of that. Another rather more powerful way of providing context is through clustering. So what we're doing here is we're using algorithms to group together related messages based on, in this particular instance, a feature. So a little bit more sophisticated than just regular expression. We're actually using NLP in this example to take advantage of NLP's ability to understand stem words. So in this particular instance, since all of these spellings share the same stem word, check, NLP is able to group this together. Incredibly powerful because we can now take this raw data and present it to a user in a format that makes sense to them. Here's a rather more humorous example of the power of context. This is my temperature data again, and here's some third-party activity. You can see that I actually put some papers on top of the Raspberry Pi, which caused the temperature to increase temporarily until I realized. So in this particular instance, it's rather humorous, but we could consider this, for example, as change information. So if you're receiving data from your CI/CD pipeline, that can be added to the cluster to put it into even more context. So that's my 5 minutes. But I wanted to just leave you, say thank you. And if you wanted to actually try out any of those little experiments that I went through, they can all be done with a trial instance at our website. So please feel free to check it out. Thank you very much.